That generation that will be here when he comes, the ones who are in that first resurrection, if they're alive at that time, they're not going to die as we would die, or as the people in history have died. I don't know what changed means. Nobody knows what that's gonna feel like. Not like in the movies where they're gonna float up in the air and then have some light sparks and everything, and all of a sudden they're a different thing. I don't know what it's gonna look like.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome.
Much. Appreciate it. I was texting with my husband saying, this is so good, oh my gosh. They're watching from home. So I know I haven't been in this personal development as you have from so many years, but one of the first things that I listened to a few years back was from Earl Nightingale. And he was talking about like the darkest secret, which is not a secret, but he was talking about how we have to, aim, we have to have some purpose and goals. And he was using the analogy of a ship. And he was saying, if nobody's going to go without a destination, the ship is going to be lost somewhere, right? And, or end up sinking or whatever. And so that really opened my eyes. And he was saying, if you're going to get to, your mind is so powerful that whatever you think about a lot, like all the time, that eventually that's where you're going to go. Yes, that's where you're going to end up. And so, and we apply this to personal goals, like you were talking about the 7 areas, but the most important one is making to the kingdom. And so that should be like, do you think that should be like overall, like applied to every single area of our lives and just focus on?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. And so it just connected so well with that, what you said on the teaching. And I just love this teaching, Rabbi. I need to listen to it again. So I just wanted to tell you that I appreciate it very much.
Okay. And look, and by the way, the analogy, you could use it with an airplane, you could use it with a boat. I could use it even when you drive your car. One of the things I remembered learning when I learned how to drive is that you're constantly adjusting the steering wheel. I mean, you don't just hold it, or you're not gonna stay in your lane. You're constantly making tiny little adjustments, even when you're going straight. That's life. Life is all these little adjustments all the time. A plane is off course all the time. It has to make adjustments all the time, okay? And so I even think about when you drive. You don't think about it now when you drive, you've been driving for years and years, but you're making all these just tiny little movements with the steering wheel, really small, but that's what you need to go straight. You can't just hold it. See, I thought, and probably all of you did when you first learned to drive, I gotta hold it straight so I can go straight. But the roads aren't straight, okay? And the wheels could be a little off, and so it pulls a little one way or the other. I mean, there's so many things. So you're always just doing these little adjustments, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so one of the things that you mentioned at some point, you were talking about that you're going to get to the bottom of why we struggle in life with the thing about pleasing ourselves instead of pleasing Him, and that a lot of it had to do with pride and ego. And I mean, obviously.
Sounds like that might be a deadly sin. No, go ahead.
So I'm just so much guilty on that. I mean, I saw it so well playing out this week, in my relationships, and I'm looking forward to that teaching. Is what I'm saying, because a lot of it is if we can just put our stuff else. And trying to figure out, okay, is this what I'm supposed to be doing or focusing, or how I'm supposed to be reacting or whatever? Or is because He's watching me, so I need to figure out, okay, no, I'm wrong. He's right, like you say. And humble myself and apologize for the many times, after so many times, but really focusing on transforming is what I'm getting. Not just saying I'm sorry, but actually meaning it and working on it.
But in the context of this teaching, okay, you should be doing it more quickly. In other words, a lot of us know we need to apologize to Him. We know we need to repent of something, but we don't do it very quickly because we're embarrassed, we're ashamed, we're stubborn, we're this, we're that. I want you to do it more quickly, in a more timely fashion. Mostly, especially for the blue personality people and the ladies especially, you're embarrassed. And so you don't go to him because you have shame issues and embarrassment issues. It's not so just a pride issue, which actually those are forms of pride that keep you from doing things, but that's where it comes down to. So instead of getting on your knees, so to speak, not literally necessarily, it doesn't have to be that way, but just getting there before him and humbling yourself and saying, I messed up. We put that off, and we put that off even though we know we messed up because we don't want to sit there and deal with it. And I want this teaching to motivate you to do it much, much more quickly. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, of course. Yeah. No, Rabbi, that's really all I wanted to say. I love what you said that our first job is to grow up.
Right.
And so grateful for this teaching, Rabbi.
Well,
Thank you.
Good. Look, I was excited to do this teaching. I've been putting it off for a long time, and I was excited to do this teaching.
So, wow, there were so many nuggets in this teaching, so many. And
listen, none of these teachings, at least as how I feel about what Abba gives me, you're going to get everything you need just listening to it once. You just can't.
Yeah, it was such a wide span of nuggets, and again, just like every service, I feel like I'm really going in the right direction because you're talking about. Yahweh through you is talking about the same thing that's kind of going on in my life. I'm talking to other people about, so I appreciate that. And then one thing I wanted to, well, there's a million nuggets, but one of the nuggets I wanted to talk about was that when you talked about owning everything, which you always talk about own it, fix it, and move on, or let it go. I was reminded, I had heard it a different way. Alex Hermosi talks about owning everything, and in this video that lovely Carrie sent me, actually, it's actually a 7-hour video, and in there he talks about, which really struck me very to my core, was when he said, you have to own, you say it, but when he said it, he was like, look, people mistreated you. You had this traumatic childhood. All this stuff happened to you. This is unfair, that's unfair. Own it, own it, own it. Own everything, because until you can own it, you're not going to be able to change anything.
Right. As
long as you say it's somebody else's fault, Right. And so by you talking about, again, today, the sense of urgency, the priorities, the whining, it really, again, motivated me. And hopefully I can be motivated later today and tomorrow and continue on to be motivated to, actually think about my priorities and, like you said, choose the priority, especially when there's the time that you feel like, and last week you were talking about killing time is killing us, so I felt like it goes with that, because the times that we have the opportunity to do things, like you mentioned today too, as well, we don't have our priorities, or we're not thinking about our priorities, so we're doing the right thing when we do have time, So talking about the year really, I think I have to write that down and read it over and over again, because I'm such a darn bad procrastinator. It's like I have all this stuff in my head and I just procrastinate. And I was just talking about it outside, actually, about the procrastination. And so
what you need to do is you need to procrastinate on procrastinating. I'll procrastinate later. I'm busy right now.
But I think, like with the Level Up class, how you had us do all the different papers that had the goals and what we're willing to give up and the cost and all that stuff. I think when I was, looking at that on a regular basis, actually going for those goals, it made me have to think about it and make a plan. And so then it's in front of your face. So then when you do have free time or time that you're not allocated to doing something else, those things are something you're thinking about. But when you're not thinking about it, like Janet said, you're just a ship without a rudder, just going off into a ditch and sinking, So I appreciate you bringing that up again. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And look, guys like Alex Hermosi, and if you don't know who that is, he's a good guy to look up if you don't mind. being distracted by the fact that you're wondering why am I listening to somebody who just dresses like they just left the gym, okay? He's a brilliant guy, brilliant businessman, very good at motivational stuff. Okay, Alex is fantastic, but he tends to wear a muscle shirt and shorts and look like he's ready to get on stage for a show. But he's brilliant at this stuff. So don't be distracted thinking, well, what's this guy got about it? Very, very smart guy. But the main thing is, there's a reason why I watch a lot of motivational stuff throughout my weeks and stuff, is because it's there to remind me to stay motivated. But don't let the motivational stuff become entertainment where all you're going is, wow, that was great, and you didn't do anything. Okay, it should be something that actually you watch it and then you turn it off and you go back to doing what it is that it reminded you needed to be doing. Okay, that's where it's a motivator. It's not just like, man, that was great stuff. I want to share that with all my friends. And none of you are doing it except sharing it with each other, okay? But I want you to be excited about where you're going, okay? Look, you could be in life, this word comes up all the time, the idea of being proactive instead of reactive. Proactive simply means choosing instead of just reacting to what's happening. So easy, though, to get caught up in life. You wake up in the morning, something happens and sets you on a reactive, your day becomes all reactive. This happened, that happened, this happened. And then you forget that you actually had choices that you wanted to make and things you wanted to do. And you gotta grab a hold of that and don't let yourself get completely derailed in reactive mode. You might have to put something off to the side for a second to handle an emergency, but then get back to proactive mode as fast as you can, okay? Because the proactive mode you need to be in is seeking first the kingdom, okay? And life can get so distracting that we're not even vertically minded anymore because we're just too busy dealing with the nonsense down here, amen?
Going back to where you're talking.
Got to keep it right up by your mouth.
All right. Going back to where you were, it echoes, going back to what you're talking about, people accepting things. The reason why we don't, because it stings. It's truthful. The rabbi is really good at telling you the truth. So when it hits us, this is what makes us sit and do nothing. You fear too much. You need to fear him. And this truth, I have to tell you, until death, I've seen 7 attempts, people tell me they want to kill me before I got here. 2 attempted murders by doing this. I don't care. This, Abba, he owns me. I'm not married, don't want to be married again, and I'm here to serve whatever you need.
Appreciate that. You got to keep it right by your mouth. That's what I need.
I'm here to serve whatever this man needs. I'm not used to being in front of people.
Right.
I guess it's time. I love you. I love these people. I've watched you for some time, and you're God's people. I love Abba. You're going to find out I'm redder than he is. He's going to have to hold me back. The time is coming, and it's no disrespect. You must accept here. It's acceptance here. Acceptance here. This, his law, his plan guides your thoughts. The bad things can't go here. Repentance, easily done, doesn't sting. Do it right away in seconds. Just do it in seconds. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt your friends. And if your friends are the ones who's going to poke at you, you don't need them. Okay? Get rid of them. I got rid of whole families. These people you do not need. I've given almost my life. I don't need them.
Amen. Thank you. Well said. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. If you know you have a short amount of time, which I don't care if you're 20 and you got another 70 years, it's still a short amount of time, okay? Why would you allow the level of toxicity in your life that some of you allow? They're derailing your walk. They're derailing your growth. They're discouraging you. They're worse than Job's encouraging friends. Okay, you lousy comforters, right? But you've got people in your life that you're allowing to tell you, you can't do this, it's wrong, you're going straight to hell, you're doing this, whatever it is. Don't let that happen. Don't be rude about it necessarily. Just say, you have to create a boundary that says, look, if that's the way it's going to be, then I don't think we need to be interacting while that's happening. Okay, there's polite ways to just say, we don't need to be doing that, all right? Okay, and that's a good reality. I appreciate that you said that. Very nice.
From Alden Vidal, Rabbi, do you think a spiritual person is not afraid to die because 12 disciples stood on what they believed and most of them were martyred?
I don't think that anybody's fear of death or not is affected by watching anybody else be strong. It's something inside you have to grow and figure out, okay? Yeah, I can go ahead and read, what the apostles were willing to go through, and history says how some of them were martyred, because not all of that's written in here. And I could read about all the stuff that did happen that's in here and be really impressed with them. It's not necessarily gonna help me overcome my fear, okay? But if I'm a spiritual person, meaning I'm focused on seeking first the kingdom and trusting him and not worrying, then what's there to be afraid of? See, you're afraid because of two things. One is you really don't believe what's coming. As far as like the kingdom and the forever, you're not believing that there is something after this. If you did believe it, you wouldn't be so afraid. But you're not believing it, okay? That's number one. And number two, death sounds very painful. It's not always for people. Some of them just go to sleep, wake up, and then that's it, right? So death can be a little scary when it comes to that, all right? But for most of us, those are the two main reasons. So if you're afraid to die, how does watching somebody else be strong help me not be afraid of what pain I might go through? How does watching somebody else be strong help me believe in a future or a kingdom or a resurrection more than I do now? Okay? You have to grow this inside you. This is something you have to grow. So Alden is a great question. And I think it's inspiring to see what we read about Yeshua, right? How Yeshua felt like it wasn't worthy of being all upset about. He knew what was coming. It was worth going through the whole ordeal to be sitting at the right hand and be found in all kinds of favor. But do I have the same belief he did of what was coming later? If I do, I won't be afraid. Okay? That's the letting the mind be in you. But if you don't, you're gonna be afraid, okay? So I think this is something that, yes, we can be inspired by watching others go through. Like maybe you know somebody that just got diagnosed with terminal cancer and they seem to have total peace with it, and you're like, wow. And I would be wow with that. I mean, I'm impressed when people find out that life has gotten a lot shorter than they thought, and there's sort of an end in the visible horizon and coming pretty quickly here, and they have peace with that. I'd like to believe that I would have peace if and when I get there. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to know until you get there, okay? Some of you are already convinced you're not gonna handle it well. You're already panicking now. This is an internal growth problem, okay? If you get to that place where belief in the resurrection and trust that it all plays out well and is worth it, takes away the fear.
All right, from Tom Lasardo in Romans 12:4, but also for the interests of others, could this mean love your neighbor?
Yeah, I mean, it's like beyond doing things just for yourself. I mean, let me just go see where we were at with that. Romans 12:4. For as we have many members in one body, but all members do not have the same function, okay? Okay, I don't know if this says it for the interest of others that way, but still, the thing is, he didn't give you what he gave you, this is important, just for you, okay? The kingdom is not about you. He didn't give you what he gave you just for you, so things are not about you in that way. It is, but not exclusively. It's a part of about putting the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can then be useful to other people. Okay? So yes, first we're gonna get ourselves right so that we can be a blessing to other people. If you're toxic, how can you be a blessing to anybody? If you're immature, if you're all full of all kinds of emotional challenges and spiritual challenges and your head's all screwed up and not on right and everything else, you can't really be that great for everybody else. So yeah, it's for you, but with the intention that once you get right, you can be a blessing to others, okay? And by the way, you don't have to wait till you're right to be a blessing. But ultimately that's the point. As you become more Yeshua-like, you're more potential to be a blessing to everybody else.
From Shelley Bell, Rabbi, is it wrong thinking to look forward to death as rest from physical pain and suffering while living and working on myself and inner issues? I'm grateful for each day, but don't fear death.
Okay, so if you're like Shelley Bell, who's got some very serious physical challenges, and a lot of you out there have similar things, we have some very physical challenges, there's, there is no problem looking forward to the rest, looking forward to the peace, but at the same time, like she said, making the most of what time you have until it comes. So it's not like you're desiring it so that you're just quitting. That's a different mindset. You know what? I'd like to just quit and be done already. As opposed to, I have peace with it, and I'm looking forward to not having pain all the time and struggling to breathe and all these other issues that you might have, okay? But in the meantime, I'm gonna still grow as best I can because I'm still here, and that's the whole point. And as long as he keeps giving me breath and awareness, I'm gonna use it to grow. So Shelley, yeah, I think Shelley Bell, that's great that you have that peace. And yes, there's a time where for some people, a lot of people sadly, we live longer and we are in pain a lot, and it's miserable those last little bits for a lot of people. Okay, not everybody, but for a lot of people. And so, yeah, looking forward to it being over is not a wrong thought, okay? It's not a wrong thought from that, because you're looking forward to, towards the peace, like you said, the rest from physical pain and suffering, right? So sure, look forward to that. We should all look forward to that. He offers it as part of what he says, and to wipe away every tear, and there won't be any more pain and suffering and all kind of stuff. Hey, I would be looking forward to that too, okay? All right, thankfully at the moment, I don't have that, okay? All right, but when I got really sick and I could barely breathe, for about 2 months, and my lungs weren't working and they were shut down, I was okay and said, look, if that's what you want to do with me, that's gonna be fine. I had peace with that. I didn't expect to have peace with that. I spent a childhood with a terrible fear of death, okay? I don't know where it came from, but I did. But I didn't have any thought that I wasn't gonna make it through, but it was gonna be kind of rough when I had lungs that weren't working. And there was no telling they would start working, okay, because they were not working. And so, but I had peace. So I'm very thankful to know when push comes to shove, I can actually have peace. Okay, and I did what little I could do, which wasn't much because I could barely move, because if you can't breathe, you can't move, okay, because you need the oxygen flowing to be able to move. So you're not doing much when you can't breathe.
From Olivia Dirth, so when we worry, this is having an evil eye, and it's evil because I'm causing my own suffering / evil by putting my worry first before Elohim?
I would agree with the statement. I mean, the idea of an evil eye generally is a jealous or an envious, a covetous, I want what you have, it's not fair what you have type of thing. So it's used often as an idiomatic phrase, okay, the idea of an evil eye. But the point is, you're looking at things or seeing things, and it's creating suffering, as I defined evil from Scripture for you in the evil teaching, right? What is evil? So by that definition, I would agree with what you said.
All right, from Nino III, in reference to doing it yourself versus praying for Hashem to do it, can I pray for strength, help when I've been trying but feel like taking a knee?
Look, you can pray for anything. Just understand he's not going to do what you should and can do, okay? So when you stop getting, if he's not answering you, you have to then say, Abba, I guess you think I can do this. And then maybe you should build some confidence believing he thinks you can do it. All right? So I'm not telling you to limit what you pray about. I mean, to some level, well, I don't know if level's right. In some form, your prayer is like just a conversation between you and your Creator. And you can have a conversation about almost anything. Just be respectful. I mean, it is the Creator. But you could talk about things. Hey, I'm struggling with this or that. I really could use some help with this or that. But understand, I always finish my prayers with, nevertheless, how you want it to be done, that's what I want to know. Okay, I want to do whatever it is I'd love it if you would just take this away. I'd love it if you would fix this thing this way or that way, or close this door, or open this door, whatever it is. But hey, if that's not what it is, if I'm supposed to figure this out, I'm good with that, all right? So if you don't respond to this, I will take that as encouragement that I'm supposed to be able to do this. If I have that conversation, okay? I don't pray like you guys do, okay? I don't have the conversations you do. I'm not judging that as I'm better, you're better, or whatever. I'm just saying I'm just different. I just never was raised with that. Jewish people are raised basically saying preset liturgical prayers more than anything else. And so I wasn't taught to go and talk to him about everything. And so when I talk to him about things he wants me to do, things with the ministry. I pray for people, and that kind of thing, especially if they're sick, that they might get well quickly and that kind of stuff, or encouragement for them. But as far as for myself, not much. I'm much more praying, like when it says pray always, I'm vertically aware. Okay, for me, praying is always being aware that he's there and watching, and that I'm walking before him. And so that's more my prayer. I don't spend time in a formal prayer like a lot of you might do, as often as you do, or whatever, in whatever form you do it. I just don't do that. Now, I'm not saying that that's right and what you're doing is wrong. Everybody does whatever works for them. It's a conversation between you and him. I talk to him every day, don't get me wrong, all right? I do it my way, in a way that works in my relationship with him. But I don't ask him for very much, okay? I might ask him for other people more than I ever ask for anything for myself. Okay? And you know why? Because if it's something I can't do, he knows. I don't need to ask him. If he's gonna do something to intervene, and that's happened lots of times, I didn't have to ask him to do it. He already knows what I need, and he knows if I can't, and he knows if I need a miracle. How many miracles has he done in your life that you didn't ask for? Okay? So he doesn't need you to pray about those things. I talk to him. I'm appreciative when I talk to him about some of the things that are going on. I want to thank him for things. I say, I really appreciate that I have you and that you've opened my eyes. And all. I mean, I just talk to him, all right, from that point of view. I don't ask for very much. Okay, I know a lot of you were taught in Christianity to go and ask for everything. I wasn't raised that way, so I never learned that, right? Okay, so I just don't do it that way. So I'm not saying it's wrong if you do. I don't relate to it that way. But believe me when I tell you, first thing in the morning when I wake up, I connect myself and say good morning and appreciate that we have a conversation. Okay, just laying in the bed, nothing formal about it at all. I'm awake, I'm aware, I connect, all right? And it may be 5 seconds, so to speak, like really quick. It could be longer, depending on whatever's going on in my head at that moment that I might want to talk about, all right? But, in this, like for this whole idea of motivated by mortality, and I'm talking about being 150, I've been praying to make sure my wife is also. I don't want to be 150 by myself, all right? So I say, Father, I know I'm looking forward to making sure to be that old. So you need to make sure she's that old too. Okay, so I don't have to do this by myself. I'm just saying these are the kinds of things that, take it under advisement that you don't need to tell him anything. He already knows. It's about what kind of relationship do you want to have with him? What do you want to share with him? This is your father in the most true sense, but you also have to be respectful, like we don't learn anymore to be respectful to fathers, okay? And so go before him with respect and have that conversation. You know what he wants to hear? He wants to hear your struggles. He wants to hear your victories. I've got daughters and son. I have a son and a bunch of daughters, whatever. People that, I'm like a dad to them. But they call me sometimes to just tell me about their struggles or about their victories or about their, what's going on. And I like to hear that, And there's lots of times where they tell me about something like, no, I'm not fixing that for you. No, I don't have an answer for you. You got to figure that out. You can handle it. You can do it. And that's what he does by just being quiet. And just sitting there going, it's on you. You can do this, all right? So I think you need to develop more of that. But more importantly, the pray always, meaning be aware in all you do that you're doing this in his presence. That's all. Be aware of that more. Don't get so bogged down with formal prayer. If you ever do formal prayer, don't tell me you don't run out of stuff to say pretty quickly. Okay, at some point you're just like trying to scratch the bottom of the barrel, scraping out. What else can I talk about? It's only been 6 minutes. I don't know what you guys say all that time, okay? But I talk to them similar amounts of time, little all throughout the day. I'm just connected, okay? Not all the day long. Everybody disconnects to whatever degree we get distracted. But all day I do have those moments where I'm aware and I reconnect and I'm like, hey, I just want to thank you for this thing that's worked out this way, or just let you know, hey, this is going on or whatever, and whatever, I don't know. It's just going to happen different all the time, right? But I don't ask for almost anything. And then you guys don't know what to do with me. You'll call here, and Elder and I are like, you want us to pray for you for things that we're like, but that's not the way it works, okay? Because you want us to pray for things you should do and could do but don't want to do. And then you get mad at us because we don't want to pray for those things, because he doesn't want you to pray for those things. He wants you. Now you may say, Father, I'm really struggling with this. I need strength. Can you help give me a little encouragement so I have strength to do this? Because I know this is on me. And I'm a little scared to do it. And I'm afraid to go and deal with this person. I'm afraid they're gonna get all mad at me, whatever it is. So maybe you ask for a little encouragement, a little strength, and that kind of stuff. That's different. But you're still gonna be the one that has to get up there and do it, right? But you guys want him to do is take away the problem, instead of doing what you need to do so you can grow through the problem. Because growth is why you're here, all right? Growth is why you're here.
From Keslin Gilbert, you said we are all going to die. How does that add up to us not knowing when he will come? So if he comes now, we will be alive. So not clear to me.
All right. First of all, since none of us knows when he's coming, and yes, there will be those that are changed when he does come. It doesn't say, by the way, the change doesn't mean that the flesh dies first as you're changed. Okay? You're changed. Okay? And so that means you're not going to be this anymore. So this is going bye-bye. This is going to die or whatever. There's no details on this anywhere in Scripture. But since we don't know, you must assume, okay, and live life assuming you are going to die. The few that that generation that will be here when he comes, the ones who are in that first resurrection, if they're alive at that time, they're not going to die as we would die, or as the people in history have died. I don't know what changed means. Nobody knows what that's gonna feel like, okay? Not like in the movies where they're gonna float up in the air and then have some light sparks and everything, and all of a sudden they're a different thing. I don't know what it's gonna look like, all right? But whatever it is, you should be living life assuming that, as it says, it's given for man once to die. We read that verse. And so it doesn't mean that those that are changed don't actually still have that first death, and that's it. Then they're changed right there into whatever that other thing is. So I don't know what that looks like, neither do you, and Scripture doesn't tell us, okay? So when you said we're all gonna die, yeah, all right? This flesh suit's going to die. One way or the other, it's gonna die.
From Greg Wallen, in Romans 12:3, Elohim has given to each a measure of belief. Is the measure the same for each or different, like the talents given by the master to his servants?
Greg asked a question. Somehow it makes my beard itch. Okay, anyway, that's an inside thing with me and Greg. All right, so look. Don't get caught up. I didn't cover that part of the verse with too much effort because it gets distracting by the Christian mindset about belief, okay? He's trying to say that he's given each a measure of whatever he's giving you a measure. And by the way, with the measure of belief, he starts us all off with a measure of it, and then we have to grow it, okay? We have to grow it. But he also says that there are different talents or different gifts that he gives everyone. So not everybody's expected to do everything. Okay? We learned this through the Torah portions recently, that there were certain people that made the cloths. Certain people made the wooden things. People made the golden things. Everybody had, not everybody, the artisans that did things didn't do all the things. The artisans that did the stuff with the metals did the metal stuff. The artisans that did stuff with the fabric did the fabric stuff, okay? And so you have things that you have gifts and talents at, and it doesn't have to fit into some ministry role. As a matter of fact, let's all be honest for 1 second. 99% of the time, don't you need things from people other than ministry roles? You need a friend to love on you, somebody to be there for you, someone to give you a little kick in the teeth but it's somebody, not a ministry person, but just a friend. I mean, there's things that you guys do for each other that doesn't fall into the fivefold. It doesn't fall into there are people for the fivefold, but that's not the end all be all of everything, okay? As a matter of fact, most of the time, you don't need those 5. You need relationships. When it says love your neighbor as yourself, that part doesn't always fall into shepherding and evangelist and apostle and prophet and teacher, right? It doesn't fit into that necessarily, okay? But people think they need to have some ministerial thing going on. That's why I like what he lists when he lists things. He says, look, it says here, if serving, do your best with your serving. If encouraging, do your best with your encouragement. Wow, those are gifts, those are talents? Yeah. Some of you know some people that are lousy at this stuff. You need some encouragement, you go to them and all they do is make you feel worse. Don't tell me you don't know people like that, okay? And in serving, yeah, you've got some people that you've asked to go and help and you need help with something and they're terrible. They sit there and whine about it the whole time and don't really want to do it. So there are people with gifts and talents at these different things and they're not specifically, a ministerial type of thing. So when it says about belief, okay, he says, now having different gifts according to the favor which is given to us, if prophecy according to the portion of belief, if serving and serving. So belief is actually put there in the linkage to prophecy. Now, if you go back to verse 3, it says, but don't think too highly of yourself, but think soberly as Elohim has given each a measure of belief. In other words, we each have a measure of that beginning point, and we have to do something with it. Okay, we have to do something with it. So when he says this, he says, is the measure to this, the same for each? I think everybody starts with the same. Everybody gets a measure. And he says, let's see what you do with it. Okay, just like everybody gets life. You were born. Every one of you was born. Okay? And so now you have a life. And what are you doing with it?
All right, this is the last one, another one from Olivia. So even in health issues and needing to rest, our RRR/relaxing, we need to be deliberate about that versus lazy, no plan, not doing anything, correct?
Okay, so I don't even think it just has to do with health issues. I think it has to do with recognizing that all of you need to have downtime. All of you need to have rest. And sometimes rest doesn't mean actual cessation of doing. It can mean just doing something that takes a break from what you had been doing. Because maybe you've been overly mentally stimulated, you need to be something that's more physical. Maybe you've been very physically stimulated, you need something that's more mental, okay? It just depends on what you need a break from, let's call it that. Now, if you have health issues, there's times when people with health issues, most of the time when people with health issues may need actual more physical rest than someone who doesn't have a health issue. So it has nothing to do with being lazy, but you want to make sure that you're getting the rest you need and you're not just deciding to just lay in bed because you just don't want to get up, okay, because you just don't want to do anything. Try to maximize what you're capable of doing, but also recognize that you might need, so don't feel guilty and terrible, you might need a nap. Look, I know people take naps. I don't get it. But that's because my personality is so go, go, go. I can't imagine taking that time to take a nap. But I see people that need them and I see how well it benefits them, all right? All of Europe takes a siesta, okay? And then they come back to work. But that's the point though, they do still come back to work. So figure you out what you need and don't think you're being lazy if you need. I've watched people, apologize, hey, I was gonna get this stuff done, but I'm really not feeling great, I need to go lay down. And they feel terrible, they feel guilty. I mean, terrible about. I'm like, but you need it. Okay, if you need it, you need it, all right? If I need it, I will sleep in. I don't feel any guilt whatsoever, okay? But if I don't need it, I will set my alarm to make sure I get up, to make sure I get going, because I got stuff to do, okay? So yes, you should know the difference between lazy and needing rest, okay? So what would be the difference? Well, the lazy would be your avoidance of doing something. The rest would be your need to actually have rest. Okay, so if you're resting to avoid as opposed to resting to meet a need, there's your difference, all right? All right, so I hope that was good for everybody.